Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
And away we go, launching into a huge Friday morning. And I mean every morning is big, Patrice.
Yeah.
And certainly every morning you're here, Patrice Onwuka, is big. But we are just so stacked with candidates and observers of the upcoming Virginia election because we're sort of the go-to place for an informed voter to turn. Starting at 6:15, Juan Pablo Segura running for Virginia State Senate in Loudoun County. At 6:35, John McGuire is also running for State Senate in District 10. He's a retired SEAL as well. 7:05, Bill Wolf is running for State Senate in the 30th District. That's Prince William County, Danica-Rome territory. 7:35, we're going to stop with the candidates for a moment. Sam Sorbo, very famous actress.
I've met her at CPAC, actually.
Yeah, she and her husband, Kevin, have a new film out. It's called Miracle in East Texas, and we'll talk about that. She's also a huge homeschool advocate. 7:45, Fairfax Republican Party Vice Chair Nick Anderson on the upcoming elections. And then at 8:35, oh, look at that. It's just the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, to, again, talk about the final push here, the final push for the elections. I am Larry O'Connor. Good morning, Patrice.
Good morning, Larry. Let us bring it on. That's what I was trying to
That
do.
was the name of the movie we couldn't remember. Bring it on. What did I say? All of that or something? I knew
that
it was
a movie about at that time, but bring it on.
All right.
Let's do it.
Well, let's bring on the economy, shall we? Because there are new indicators, Patrice, that the Bidenomics, so they keep saying Bidenomics is working. And yet we see these data points that suggest that it's a lot harder for your everyday American to just make ends meet. And it doesn't seem to be getting much better. That's on the little ticket items for the most part. But then when you look at the big ticket items like the housing market, interest rates, the statistics we talked about earlier in the week where it's almost twice as expensive to buy a house right now than it was just 3 years ago. And when they say Bidenomics is working, I'm not sure what they mean by that, unless it's working for them and the people that they're affiliated with that they funnel money to from the big government programs like the Green New Deal that they tried to fund through the...
You mean the elites?
Yeah, they're the
elites.
Ones, yeah.
So the big picture is that the economy is working for the elites, for the people the haves in our economy, not for the middle class and the have-nots. So yesterday we got news that the U.S. economy grew by a robust 4.9%, and that's actually more than double than it grew in the previous quarter. Now, you have to dig deeper than the headline because where is the growth? Well, certainly consumer spending, but it's on travel. It's on experiences, concerts. What did we see this summer? The power of women and the power of women's dollars.
Really?
Concerts, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and then the Barbie movie. What you're seeing, and we smile and joke, but how many of our listeners, your wife, your daughters, they either shelled out big to go to see Beyonce or to go to see Taylor Swift. They got their gang group, their group of women gang together to go dress up in those Barbie pink outfits and go see Barbie. You know, all of the travel, all of the dining out, all of the photographers that you had to hire so that you can capture it for Instagram.
Oh, stop
and
it.
social
Seriously?
media. No, actually,
so
that
growth in the economy.
A lot of the growth that we saw in the last quarter, but that means it's not sustainable.
It's the Tay-Tay Beyonce Barbie economy, is what you're telling me.
There's a huge pink influence. That's what I would call it. A huge pink influence.
So that's a fair analysis considering, the data points show that it is experiences, not things, not fungible items, or excuse me, not fungible items, but the actual rock solid major purchases that people might make. They're just going there. They're eating. They're spending a bunch of money at a restaurant. They're spending a bunch of money at a concert. And you're right. Women's concerts and women's experiences did drive a bunch of that. It's not like people were going to baseball games.
No, and the ticket prices are like up 400%.
Wow.
I mean, when you consider how much they're shelling out, I'm reading stories of women who are digging into their savings because they want to give their daughter that once in a lifetime opportunity. They are racking up credit card debt, and credit card debt has hit a new high of over $1 trillion to fund these experiences.
So none of that is
sustainable.
None of that's real.
It's a one-time burst, but it's not sustainable.
So square this with me, because now I'm looking at a headline at the Washington Post that says hunger worsened in U.S. households in 2022. So we've got a 4.9% growth in the economy, and it's because people are spending money that they might not even have since they're putting it on the credit cards to go to a big concert so they can look it on social media, and meanwhile people are starving.
Well, you have so I talked about the haves and the have-nots. The big picture here is I think we're seeing the elites, the haves are getting better. Their portfolios are strengthening again. If you have the value in your homes is actually rising, so obviously you have a lot of money. If you decide to take money out of it, I mean, probably not good with the interest rates. But I think you're seeing those people who have. Meanwhile, the bottom is expanding as you're seeing more households start to drop back because the pandemic savings have been drawn down. The interest rates, whether it's on your loans, your mortgages, your credit card debt, is rising. And and once again, because inflation is ticking back up again, real wages, not the nominal wages, the real wages, what you take home in your paycheck, is back in the negative category again. So if you're on the fixed budget, like our older Americans, if you're a single parent household, if you're working an entry level job or a minimum wage job, you are struggling, and a lot of families are struggling.
So here's what I don't understand, because Democrats, up until just this last midterm election, Democrats have pretty much had their say with the economy. This is the Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer economy, right? And of course, they always tell me they're the ones who look out for the little guy. In fact, they're the ones who tell me that they're constantly trying to stick it to the elites and stick it to the powerful and stick it to the wealthy and the 1%. And that's all the rhetoric that they embrace. So as a result of their economic policies and their their budget and their spending through the federal government, you're telling me that the poor have gotten poorer and the rich have gotten richer.
Exactly.
Bingo. That's
Bingo.
Fascinating.
And listen, Larry, the American people are not stupid. They remember that on January 2021, they were not paying the prices that they're paying now. And what happened? Simply a change of power and a change in policy. And President Biden was hell-bent. Is that a curse word?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's a geographic location.
It's a geographic location. Yes. But he was bent on sending another round of stimulus checks and a bunch of COVID money out for schools, for localities to be able to spend to stimulate the economy, because apparently he thought that's how you generate jobs at a time when the economy didn't need stimulating. It actually needed government to take a hands-off approach and release the lockdowns, allow people to get back to work, not disincentivizing staying at home. And then the economy, I think, would have worked out, but he shoved a bunch of money into the economy. Inflation skyrocketed and has not come back down to the beginning of 2021 levels.
Well, the Wall Street Journal's analysis of the latest economic news also supports your analysis here, Patrice, as it says, driven by the economy grew strong at 4.9%, driven by consumer spree that may not last. And they say that forecasters are expecting a cooling in the coming months, high rates, as well as global risks. And I want to get into that in a moment. None of this takes into account this now war in the Middle East and how that's going to affect fuel prices even more than it already has. And also the trouble that's brewing in Asia as well. I mean, what is the economy going to look like, especially with these high interest rates that we're already burdened with as we get into a major political season? We'll try to discuss that. And also, frankly, more importantly, how it's going to affect your Reese's peanut butter cups and Twix bars that you need to stock up on right now for Halloween right around the corner. Yes, that's right. The economy as it affects trick-or-treating. We'll get into that in a moment, but first it's 5:15.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, Jewish students take refuge in a New York library as pro-Hamas mobs rampage through the building. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
Yeah, and as you hear from Chris Plant, tensions overseas and tensions right here at home on college campuses in our major city streets, and that is not good for the economy either, not to mention an indication of moral decay in America. And that's why the Wall Street Journal is raising red flags here with regard to global risks and what that might do to the economy. People keep comparing it to Jimmy Carter's presidency, and now that we have this, literally have American hostages being held by terrorists in the Middle East. The comparisons are unstoppable, and despite seeing that, this is, I think, what's so disjointed for so many Americans that I think you just laid out why. you see this huge headline, oh, the economy grew at 4.9% and Joe Biden's doing a victory lap. And everyday Americans don't feel it. In fact, they think it's getting worse.
Well, exactly. I mean, you again, the reference point most people are making is not to earlier this year or even last year. They're making it to before prices really ticked off right before President Biden took office. That's number one. But number two, most folks are not the elites. They're not. They don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings that they can tap into to shell out $6,000 to see Beyonce. Right? Most people are not in that financial position. A lot of people are on fixed budgets. So whenever there's a price increase, they are highly sensitive to that. Which is why they recognize that they're not seeing the robust economy that I think the headlines are suggesting. Again, it's a story of the haves and the have-nots, and it's sad because America had become a place where you had been seeing fewer have-nots. Yeah. The have-nots were moving into the middle class. Middle class folks were moving into the upper class. Now I think you're seeing a bifurcation, frankly, where you have a lot of people at the top, and then increasingly more people moving back down to the bottom.
Meanwhile, there's one thing that everybody has to buy. It's just the law. You have to buy at least one bag of fun-sized candy bars for trick-or-treating next week. And so, when the morning show is down here, I go to work at the town hall media office.
Oh, yeah.
I swing over there. A lot of young. I'm like the oldest person who works there. I think I'm there to sort of be an elder statesman kind of thing and help out some of the new young journalists who are coming up at town hall.
The crotchety guy in the corner.
Exactly. No, I'm not crotchety. A little bit. Anyway, they like most offices populated by young people, they have this treasure trove of snacks.
Oh, yes.
It's just constantly there.
Yes.
Because I guess employers here in D.C. don't like people to ever leave the office ever for anything. It's like, oh, you're hungry? Here, have a candy bar. Yeah. And so there's all these snacks. So they always have all these snacks. It's like Halloween every other day, right? And I kid you not, I just went over to get, I grabbed myself a little Kit Kat.
Okay.
Sometimes, a little something, something.
Yep.
I get the little fun-sized Kit Kat thing, and I could barely keep it in my hand. It was so tiny. And I literally said, what the hell is going on with the Kit Kats?
Actually, I noticed that because the kids did trunk or treat at the church where their school is. And yes, I noticed my Kit Kat was number one. It wasn't two pieces together. It was one. Yeah. And the one was like a little bit fatter, but it was smaller than the traditional fun size.
Right. And so what's going and apparently Michael, our board operator, is also a big fan of the Kit Kat. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar, will you? Oh, was that Professor? Oh,
that's
Jeff,
our professor,
thank you. Sitting in for Heather today. We do love our Kit Kats. Well, if you love Kit Kats, you're going to be disappointed because Kit Kats, as well as other major candy bar options out there, are shrinking. We've got shrinkage going on. You're spending the same money and you're not getting the same bar.
Well, that's called shrinkflation. So that is exactly when retailers mass producers are starting to shrink the quantities of items, although and you're paying the same price, but technically you're actually paying more for less when you think about it. Yeah. And then in part they're saying
there's a re-election slogan for Biden: pay more for less.
There you
Joe
go.
Biden.
Or for conservatives to use. So they're saying that it's because obviously of inflation, the rising cost of just like the packaging, the ingredients, the chocolate, the whatever the yummy stuff they put in there. And then they're also saying it's because of health consciousness. So people are increasingly, they want to reduce the amount of sugar that people are taking in, particularly kids. So I guess they're doing their part to fight obesity, although I thought fat liberty or liberation is a thing right now.
Yeah, it
part
sure
of the
is.
body positive movement.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're seeing shrinkflation, and then obviously you're seeing increased prices at IWF. I'll drop it on Twitter. We have the spooky Halloween price increases, and candy is up 7.5% from last year. But that's on top of the 2021 price increases on candy. So you are paying a whole lot more for candy this year for smaller pieces.
What do you give out at your house?
We got about 2 bags of those fun size mix-ups. We're going to have
just
the
general.
They're gonna have
and you let the kids just reach in and grab a handful, or do you?
No, I'm going to hand it to them because
forgive me.
Well, listen, one year we put.
You just got your mom face going on me when I suggested
because I got upset. Some kids stole our candy. We left a bowl out, said take one, with a sign that said take one.
Oh.
They took the bowl and our pumpkin. Our outside decor.
Did you catch him on your little ring
No,
camera?
we didn't have a ring camera at the time, so we didn't know who the assailants are. So that's why if you come into our house, I'm going to give you what I want to give you. That's all.
Wait, so were you?
We had gone out that evening to a Harvest Fest event at the church, so we left the candy and said, please take one. I wrote it out. And they took the bowl, they took the candy, and they took my pumpkin decor.
Did they TP your trees as well?
They did not. That's the only thing they didn't do.
All right. Well,
right.
you see, now you're going to be out there. You're going to be like one of those roof Koreans for during the LA riots. You're going to have a gun fix on it. One, you put that down. Damn it. All right, 5:23. It's 5:36 on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in on this Friday morning. We have got you covered. If you are interested in the Virginia elections, well, you've come to the right place. 6:15, Juan Pablo Segura running for Virginia State Senate in Loudoun County. 6:35, John McGuire, former Navy SEAL, running for Virginia House of Delegates. Currently in the Virginia House of Delegates, now running for Virginia State Senate in District 10. 7:05, Bill Wolf running for Virginia State Senate in Virginia 30. That's the race against Danica Rome. 7:35, actress Sam Sorbo. She's a co-producer on a brand new movie with her husband, Kevin Sorbo. She's going to tell us about that film. 7:45, the vice chair of the Republican Party in Fairfax County, Nick Anderson. And then we'll round things out at 8:35 with none other than the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin.
That's awesome.
And what's awesome is that Patrice Onwuka is here as well. Good morning,
happy
Patrice.
Friday, Larry.
Happy busy Friday.
Yes.
And let's get up to date on the comings and goings of presidential politics.
Is there still an election going? I kind of forgot about it for a minute there.
Well, yes, world events have sort of taken over. But yes, there is. And we have a couple of updates here. First, the next debate is slated for November 8th. That'll be the day
Election Day,
after Election Day, that
day
Wednesday.
After, sorry. Yeah.
It will be in Miami. It will be hosted by NBC News for broadcasting and Rumble for streaming. If you want to watch it streaming, you'll watch it on Rumble. And also the broadcast partner, the audio broadcast, radio broadcast partner is Salem Media.
Oh, yeah.
So that gives us the number of moderators that we have. You expect Lester Holt will be one of the moderators, the NBC anchor for NBC Nightly News.
Yeah.
Kristen Welker, who just recently took over for Meet the Press on NBC. And she's also relatively infamous for being one of the moderators between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I say infamous because anyone who moderated the debate between the two of them and didn't call Joe Biden out on his lies about the Hunter Biden laptop really wasn't doing their job. And that would be Kristen Welker. So she's one of the debate monitors. And then the third will be Hugh Hewitt, a nationally syndicated radio talk show host.
Yeah.
So that's that. And I'll be there. I'm affiliated through Town Hall, which is part of the Salem Media family.
Okay.
Town Hall and the whole team with Town Hall will be down there doing a lot of webcasting and streaming before the debate and during the debate with my friend and partner, Katie Pavlich.
You should shout a question.
Should I, just from the audience?
What about just what about the laptop from hell? Yeah, just put it out there.
Nikki, who are you wearing? That kind of thing.
No, you got to get a really good zinger in.
Yeah, I'll get your zinger.
Just remind them, those candidates up there, to bring up that, like, the laptop from hell. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I've got a long list of questions that I've been planning to ask Larry Elder.
Okay.
But he announced he's dropping out of the race yesterday.
What?
Yes, Larry Elder.
Well,
also,
are we that surprised, though?
Former talk radio host. Well, he was suing the RNC for not being included in the first two debates.
But that is not the reason why. I mean, you got to make the numbers both financially and...
There's a low threshold in the polls that you have to meet. I think it was 1%. Let's face it, Doug Burgum hit the threshold. Okay,
that tells you a lot.
Plus a number of donors and an amount of money. Well, he announced yesterday that he is withdrawing from the race and throwing his support to
Donald Trump.
Correct.
Yes.
And this was the major problem with Larry Elder's campaign in the first place, because Larry Elder was a huge supporter of Donald Trump, continues to be a huge supporter of Donald Trump. In fact, when he announced his candidacy, he spent most of his time talking about how great Donald Trump was. So I was like, dude, if you're telling me how great Donald Trump is and Donald Trump is running and Donald Trump is a choice, why in the heck should I support you when the guy you love and you're supporting? I mean, honestly, even if Larry Elder, made it as far as the California primary, which is the state he comes from, he probably would have voted for Donald Trump.
That That is true.
So I'm not quite sure the rationale behind his campaign.
Well, that's the point, because I think most people understand that there are people, that they're candidates who are running to build their name recognition. They're candidates who are running because they want to become a highly paid speaker or a highly paid analyst on one of the major networks.
Are you telling me Larry Elder did something for self-promotion?
Listen, I drop breadcrumbs. Pick them up and eat them and figure out where they lead.
I've known Larry Elder for many, many years. I assure you he did this for self-promotion.
Well, and there's a third category.
No breadcrumbs needed.
No breadcrumbs needed. There is a third category of those who are looking for a spot in the administration, the Trump administration. I still don't think that's Larry Elder, because I don't think he brings any particular expertise to the table for a cabinet position. But so, well, there you go. I mean, another one bites the dust.
Yeah, Larry Elder joins Will Hurd, former Texas Congressman Will Hurd. He joins
the former mayor of Miami.
Thank you, Francis Suarez, if I remember right.
Francis Suarez, yeah.
And he also joins, as we told you earlier this week, Michigan businessman Perry Johnson. You know who's missing from that list of people who have dropped out of the race?
Who?
Asa Hutchinson.
Wait, Asa dropped out?
Asa's still in. That's what I mean.
Okay,
Missing from the list of
You're saying he should drop out.
No, I still have a slight case of Asa fever. It's just barely hanging on.
I don't know. I think you're the only person who has Asa fever. I've never heard of anybody else with it.
Asa perhaps has a slight case as well. It's a low-grade fever, I'll be honest.
It's like an egomaniacal trait a lot of these folks have.
Asa Hutchinson ran, and he announced that the opposite of Larry Elder, he's running single-handedly to stop Donald Trump. And so...
Chris Christie, too. I mean, you know...
Well, let's turn to the Democrats real fast, because apparently Joe Biden has a new rival for the nomination.
Well, finally.
Unlike Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running as an independent.
Or Cornel West.
Also running as an independent. House Democrat Dean Phillips announced yesterday that he is running for the nomination as well.
And do you know who Dean Phillips is?
Not a clue.
Neither do I.
But he is a member of the House of Representatives. So
that's right.
He's one of 435.
That's right.
And strangely, not unlike Larry Elder to Donald Trump, he spent most of his time in his announcement for the candidacy for president praising Joe Biden.
Okay. So like we already laid out the three categories for why most of these low ball candidates are running.
I think President Biden has done a spectacular job for our country. Well, this disqualifies him right there. But it's not about the past. This is an election about the future. I will not sit still. I will not be quiet in the face of numbers that are clearly saying that we're going to be facing an emergency next November. Now, does he mean we the country or we the Democratic Party? Phillips is expected to formally announce his campaign today in Concord, New Hampshire, where he'll file to run in the New Hampshire Democratic primary. Now, here's the funny thing. The Democrats have basically disqualified the New Hampshire primary.
Yes,
so
exactly.
if this guy, I jokingly said earlier this week that I should go up there and file to run. I could win the Democrats' nomination in New Hampshire. Because
that would be an embarrassment to President Biden.
And, well, if I won it, yes.
Yeah.
If Dean Phillips wins it, it doesn't matter. The DNC will actually take his delegates and give them to Joe Biden because they want South Carolina to be first.
Yeah.
So Godspeed, Dean Phillips. Good luck to you.
Listen, I just want to see a debate.
Between Democrats? Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, I doubt he's going to get that. What will be interesting to see is how quickly he gets like even 5% in the polls just because Democrats are desperate for somebody.
Well, it depends on how much coverage his announcement gets. That's, I think, going to be key.
I think it is fair to say that in the last 2.5 minutes, we have said the name Dean Phillips more than we ever have before, and quite possibly ever will again. So if it was so he could get a little name recognition.
Dean Phillips will get... It is on the ticket. That's the key point. Dean Phillips.
Dean Phillips. There he is. 5:45 now. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes first on the fives. Another person who's never heard of Dean Phillips, Jamie Whitten, is in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
All right, let's go, team. Okay, we're just going to keep saying his name. All right.
Well, Taylor Swift continues to be the main topic in conversation heading into an NFL pro football weekend.
Who would guess you would pair Taylor Swift with American football?
Yeah. Well, people have been running the stats. You know, she's dating this tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, Kelsey. And I don't know why this is even a stat that we need to know. But we do basically because I have Kelsey as my tight end on my fantasy football team. And you got to figure out if you're going to put him in the lineup or not.
Yeah.
On games where Taylor Swift has been in attendance, he's averaging over 70 yards receiving and at least one touchdown.
He's trying to impress her.
I think that might be the case. And, of course, she was at the last game, and there's video of her doing a special victory handshake with Patrick Mahomes' wife.
Yes.
And apparently this is actually making a difference. I can't believe this, but apparently the NFL is actually doing better in the ratings because of Taylor Swift.
So they don't need to have players take a knee. Now they just bring in Taylor Swift to bring the players back.
Well, listen, if the choice is Colin Kaepernick disrespecting our flag and our country,
that's a good,
and seeing Taylor Swift jumping around with her bangs and red lipstick, then fine, I'll go for the latter if I have to choose that. But the big debate right now amongst more purist football fans, let's say.
Serious, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is have they gone too far? Is enough is enough
coverage?
With the Taylor Swift thing? You sit down, you want to watch a football game, and you're spending half your time seeing Taylor Swift. Ron Gronkowski, a tight end who beat Troy Kelsey in the Super Bowl.
Former Pats player with the GOAT, Tom Brady.
Yes, although I was referring to the Super Bowl he won with Tampa Bay. But sure, go ahead and.
He was with Tom for longer back in Boston. Let's just get this right. People got to know the name Gronk back in Beantown. Let's correct the record.
It stands corrected. Gronk was appearing on a sports-related podcast and asked specifically. Well, he and another guest was asked, "Is it too much Taylor Swift?" And here's how the conversation went.
Tired of the Taylor Swift of it all. They think that their broadcast is showing her too much. Hey, do you buy that there is too much Taylor Swift coverage during Chiefs games?
There is too much insecurity among NFL fans who are having an identity crisis. They're like, this is mine, and why would we change this? Like,
okay, first of all, this is not an insecure. I'm not insecure because I roll my eyes every time they cut to a player's. I don't care who. If it's Taylor Swift, I don't care who it is. The player's girlfriend is meaningless to the enjoyment of watching a football game.
Goop. Forget her.
Insecurity. Oh yes, Taylor Swift makes me so insecure in my enjoyment of football.
People are like, they show her too much. It just gets boring. I'm sorry, like the game of inches that is football. Like there's so little that changes in the game of football year to year. Gronk, that like I can't understand any argument that isn't excited about embracing a new thing, an absolute icon who's killing it for herself and the NFL, and bringing new people into the party. Why would you not want to Why would you not want to take that 6'8" Gronk wingspan and welcome everybody into the NFL? I don't get it.
I would just say, bye. It's just a little bit too much. Yes, I can show her, maybe have her perform a song now since they're hyping her up every single week. But we want more football. Yes, it's fine that you show her, but not every single play.
Thank you.
So you think so?
I like that. And
I agree.
So he's being criticized, first of all, for quoting one of her songs. Bye, which I thought was an NSYNC song.
I thought so, too.
Yeah. But secondly, for saying, you want Taylor Swift, let her perform a song. Otherwise,
do the halftime
she's
show.
only there to entertain you. She's only there to perform for you. It's like, well, yes, actually, yes. That's exactly what her job is. Her job is not to be listen.
And I don't buy the argument that you're going to get all of these new fans because of Taylor Swift. Listen, you'll get the Swifties will go out and buy their Chiefs gear for one season.
Right.
You might get a little boost. We talked about the Taylor Swift women effect earlier this hour, but that's it. They're going to stop watching as soon as she breaks up. And mark my words, folks. This is 10/27/23. They will be done. This relationship will be over before the season ends.
How can you predict
the regular
that?
season ends?
How can you predict that? Taylor Swift has such a history of long-lasting
relationships, right? Because she's a married woman, right?
So what you're saying is it's going to break up and she will have a brand new album with songs featuring the tumultuous relationship.
And I don't think NFL fans are going to be buying it. It's just the Swifties.
All right. What do you think the name of the album reflecting on her breakup with a football player will be called? I'm thinking Illegal Use of the Hands.
No, it's going to be something like Touchdown.
I like your tight end, but I can't get there. It's 5:54. All right, coming up, we're going to talk to a couple of candidates for Virginia. And we're also going to give you an update on Jamal Brown, the Democrat congressman who pulled a fire alarm. We've been telling them, please release the full video. Well, we got the video, and surprise, surprise, he was lying the whole time. We'll give you the details next.